Welcome to Laugh, Cry or Die, a comedy disability podcast. My name is Steve Wilbury. I'm a human pile of trash pans. Trash pans? I'm
Hey,
going to keep
trash
it.
pans.
I'm a trash pan. With me, as always, is Naomi Strain, who is jiggly trash pans.
Yes, I am a professional spaz.
Professional spaz. She's so good at it, the government gives her money. Because please just don't come into a job. You'll make it horrible and awkward for everyone.
I am Nelson, if not the whole of New Zealand's best spaz on many levels.
Best spaz. Best whole spaz. Some people have single spastic limbs. Naomi is all spaz.
Yeah, I am.
Head to toe.
Apologies.
But I really like the idea that the government was like, you know what? Just sit down. Fuck, my camera keeps dying. Oh no.
I tried to ignore the fact that your camera had gone.
Oh shit. I think I need a new webcam. I can't. Guess what? You're the face of the podcast now, Naomi.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of works out better that way.
Oh, sick burn.
Ooh.
Sick burn. Yeah, my
There's
webcam.
You and your face for radio.
I do have a face for radio. I digress. Sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. We're going to get straight on to today's really important topic about spaz life.
Yes.
We didn't record last week because I had pneumonia.
Idiot.
Which is my own damn fault. What a moron.
Yeah, how did that happen? How'd you get pneumonia?
So apparently H1N1, like the actual bird flu, has been floating around.
Okay.
And my son got it, and like he had a fever for like 3 or 4 days. Like he was really sick. And then we got it, and I was sick for like 8-9 days, something like that. Like it was pretty intense. Then it just moved in, like there was so much phlegm and stuff living inside of me that it all migrated into my lungs.
Right.
And like I noticed that I was quite wheezy, and I just kind of got that feeling when you're like, I should probably go to the hospital.
To the hospital through choice is quite a pain in the ass. That's something that I can't get my head around, because normally hospital is through absolutely no choice.
Yeah, and then you have to, and you get brought in through the back. You know,
I know,
you don't
right?
have to wait with the plebs.
Well, no, it's kind of bad on both sides. Like getting taken in the ambulance door through the back door, you're genuinely poorly. But walking in the front door, it's like you don't want to be seen as, I don't know, time waster, walking in and moaning. And I know that's the chip that I've got on my own shoulder. Nobody kind of makes me feel like that. But yeah, it's a difficult choice to make, because that's not the usual burden.
Well, yeah, well, you don't want to, you just don't want to go in. You know, you spend so much time in hospital, you're like, oh, fuck. I would have just gone to the doctor, but it was a Saturday. And I was like, okay, no, I'm unwell. And I would notice that when I'd finish breathing, but then I would keep breathing, and like there's a couple little crackles still in there, actually. Good news is, though, that when you go into the out of hours and you say, I'm a 42-year-old male with chest pain and trouble breathing, you get seen pretty quick.
Yeah, that's quite high on the list. That's got all the keywords to get you seen, isn't it? As soon as you say chest pain.
Yeah, it's like chest pain and I can't breathe. Please no queue, please no queue, please no queue. Because it was Saturday morning and there was like all the kids from sports were in, like it was heaving.
Oh, true. I went in the front door.
I got seen, and the doctor was like, right, da, da, da. He listened to my chest and he goes, oh dear. And then like on all 4 spots on him, when he was listening to my lungs, he went, oh dear. And I was like, well, that's
reassuring.
And then he checked, and my resting pulse rate was 120.
What?
Yeah, that was
That's
like me
ridiculous.
sitting down, which would explain why my chest hurt. So and then he was like, okay, here's some antibiotics, here's some inhalers, go away, because they were busy. And they did. And I went home, and then I just laid on the couch for a week, which was crazy hard to like really take time to heal, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And like, because so often I think with most people who are kind of that forever ill, you don't heal, you know, you
Yeah,
You
and
get slightly less horrid,
yeah,
but there's
not
no
fully healed.
better.
Yeah. And like you well practiced in your normal disabledness, like
Mm,
to an extent how to navigate around that. But when you've got just normal illness,
mm.
then you're not special with that. There's like you have to just be poorly like other people are.
Yeah,
Like the
like,
common
oh,
people.
I've got all my coping strategies and I know which levers to pull to make, just like, no, I've got fucking pneumonia. I just have to watch telly
Yeah.
for days.
Like the like usual people do.
Yeah, and then but then what I think was almost weirder was then coming back to myself after a couple of days.
Mm.
And I had like 3 or 4 days where I've got my smartwatch and I was like checking my heart rate pretty constantly. And I was like, oh, and it went down from like 122, and then it was like 110, and then and then now I have like a normal human's resting heart rate instead of like a rabbit.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but fuck, just like sitting there doing nothing, and your heart is racing because your body is like just so full of crap that it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do with that if you're already sitting. You can't relax more.
Yeah, I was like, well, no exciting films, nothing scary, just very, bland tapioca level entertainment.
Yeah, it's like everyone just be quiet, just be gentle around Steve.
Don't excite his heart, he might die.
You're so delicate.
Well, the thing is, because I'm that little bit older,
Mm.
um, if your heart rate's cranking 120 24 hours a day, there's like a non-0% chance that you're going to get a heart attack,
Yeah, true, true.
as well as like, get dislodging some plaque or something, because everything's going so fast. And it was like it was the first time in a long time that I've been like worried about my health.
Right, yeah, yeah. See, I mean, I'm lucky because I don't have um issues with my heart rate until I'm having a seizure. And it's quite funny watching on my Fitbit. If I look at my heart rate stats like after a seizure, you can see where it hits, it spikes. And like sometimes it'll be up to, sort of 180. But I've had it up to 220.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know, right? And
That's heart attack territory.
yeah. And it's from resting. So it'll be like 60, and then it jumps right up to nearly 200. And then if I've been drugged, it drops right down to 40 before it levels off. And it's like, who needs cardio?
For real, why do you even go to the gym? I don't understand it. Fuck, 220. That is so fast.
I know.
That's like almost 3 times a second.
Yeah.
No, that's more. That's more than 3 times a second.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. It's like if you tried to try and get your heart rate that fast, like if I jumped on a treadmill and just absolutely sprinted, I'd still struggle to get it up to that high.
I don't even know how you'd have to. Fuck. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you're fucked up, bro. Someone should do something. That's not right. That shit ain't right.
Yeah, do something about this, people.
Has someone not cured Naomi's seizure disorder, please?
Well, like I said before, I should just stop having them.
Yeah, idiot.
And I am such a dick.
I'm bored. Maybe I'll have a seizure.
Right?
That's you.
It's
That's
like
you sitting
you find
around.
it
Nothing good on telly. Maybe I'll just jack my heart rate to dangerous levels.
just sitting twiddling my thumbs. What should we do today?
What if I piss myself? Yeah, I'll do that.
That's on
And then
particularly boring days. Then yeah, got to spice it up with a piss yourself.
you ever been so bored you're just wazzing your pants?
No, but have you? I mean, you've had like catheters and stuff in when you have to try and pee when you're not near a loo or something like that. Like when I had my catheter in, they're going, just pee because you're fine. And I'm like, my body will not allow me to go until I'm on the toilet. So like, to try and purposefully piss yourself, I don't know if I'd be able to.
Wild. The number of times after I've had surgery, which is like too many, but
Yeah.
like, and you're in bed and they're like, okay, here's a bottle, try and wee. And I've spent my entire life not pissing the bed. Like so much of my day, like I'll wake up from a deep sleep just so I don't do that. And you want me to just voluntarily relax to the point that I pee, admittedly into a bottle, but still
Yeah,
not in
yeah.
the pee place.
And then it's that whole performance anxiety thing. As soon as you try to pee, then everything locks up, and it's like you have to be able to relax so that you can pee.
And then they're like, if you don't pee, we're gonna have to put in a catheter, which gives you even more anxiety. Because you're like, well, now I have to, because I don't. I mean, have you ever been conscious when they put one in?
Oh no, I would fight them. I really would. Like when I had one before, I was up in Auckland and I had a seizure at the airport. I probably mentioned that before. And when I realised that it was that whole needing to pee and not being able to, and they're like, you just got the catheter in, and I'm like, well, take that out. And they're like, oh, we can do that in the morning. And I'm like, absolutely not. I will not be quiet until that comes out. And they're like, well, we haven't got the person on staff that can come and do it at the minute. And it's like, we'll go and get that person. And like, I was that patient who wasn't going to just be quiet. It's like, no, it's gross. And even the thought of them doing it while I'm unconscious is, yeah, that just makes me feel sick, and it's wrong. And they should stop fiddling around. That's my places. Get
Stay
out.
away from my no square. My pee hole is my business.
Yeah, get out of it. So,
get out my urethra.
It's bad to say, with like a farmer on their land, that whole "get off my land" thing. And
get
it's
off
like,
my urethra.
Yeah, damn kids. Always
get on space for your coming of age stories.
Hang on.
You've got pneumonia now.
Yeah. I'd like to say it's the first time I've used my voice in about 4 days. So my throat.
Have you tried having friends?
I have literally no social life, and everyone's been busy.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, damn idiots. Because I had a hospital adventure recently, but it was seizure related, but the injury was after seizure. Hurt my shoulder. Came around after the seizure with very, very painful shoulder. They tried to convince me to go in, and I fought and said no and signed a refusal. And literally, as soon as they were out the door, I was in tears. I'm like, I've just been a dick. I should have gone with them. This really, really hurts. And so I got myself up to ED, and they didn't look at my shoulder. I told them it hurts. And I think this is a bit of tunnel vision on the medical people's side, is that it's just no, we see her all the time. Don't worry about it. Because I said, oh, it hurts. And they said, all right, we'll get an x-ray. Didn't look at it or anything. Went for the x-ray. And then sat there for about 4 hours, which is, yeah, it's fine. Like the waiting room wasn't that busy, but you don't know what's going on in the background and da, da, da. Anyway, eventually they called me in and said, yeah, there's no dislocation or break, you're fine, bye. And so I was like, okay. And at this point, nobody had tried to move it or look at it or anything like that. And so I came home and basically stayed on drugs until the next day. I called my GP and they said, just go to physio, but I can't move my arm at all. And so I went in and he actually examined it. And he said, yes, you've hurt this properly. We need to look into it more. Do not do physio. He said, that's the worst thing you can do right now. And so he sent me for an ultrasound, and I've torn a tendon, and there's a bunch of inflammation in there. And so I've got to have physio for it now that they know what's going on. But what they think happened is I fell and dislocated my shoulder. And then when the paramedics have turned up, they've sat me up, which one there? They've got a technique to try and get me out of seizure. They sat me up and hassled me and have relocated it while I've been unconscious.
Whoa.
I know, right? I mean, I'm glad it happened all while I was unconscious, but I've also now got this image of them like moving me to where they want me to be by just grabbing my arm and pulling me. And that's what's put my shoulder back in, which, yeah, that's kind of weird. But yeah, that was one of those situations of going in the front door at ED and voluntarily saying, hey, look at me. But like I say about the tunnel vision with medical people, kind of bypass doing the checks and things because everything's always fine with me.
It's that's like their, that's I don't want to say downfall, but that's a very common medical thing. It's like, oh, and I think that's part of the problem in medicine is once you think you know what it is, then you
Yes.
don't have room for it to be anything else.
Yeah, they've got to kind of look at what the usual thing is. I mean, it's like a little while back, my blood sugar dropped real low, and that's why I had to do this 72-hour fast. And this sort of things. My blood sugar was really bad. It was really, really low. But the paramedics hadn't checked it when they came to see me. Because normally when they come and see you, there's things, it's your blood pressure, it's your O2 sats, it's your blood sugars, all those normal things. But they didn't do any of the checks because mine are always perfect numbers. And so then kind of get a bit, blasé about whether they do it or not. But on that occasion, my blood sugars had dropped super, super low. So I'm like, well, I know 2, it's supposed to be, I don't know, like 5 or something. And so 2 is kind of like diabetic coma kind of level of things, it's getting into that territory. And that was because it's normally fine, so let's not bother doing it. And on that occasion turned out it wasn't fine. So it's like really important for them not to just assume that it's the normal poorliness, the normal spazziness. Yeah.
And I think with yourself as well, it's kind of what we were talking about at the beginning, is that like so often when you start to feel crappy, you're like, oh, this is just me just feeling like shit because I always feel like shit. And then you're like, and so you power through, but because you're so used to powering through and not giving your body, I don't want to say the respect it deserves, but like, so often, especially when you're chronically ill, you're like, right, you stupid lump of flesh, let's
and
let's do today.
having to power through excuse me, your normal chores and normal life stuff. You're so used to sort of working through complete exhaustion and feeling like shit that's kind of your default setting.
You're like, oh no, I'm extra shit. And
Yeah.
then you're like, and it's with that complaining thing as well, because you're like, oh, I've got a cold, and people are like, oh, you just got a cold. Be like, no, but I've got a cold plus 90% of stuff that you will never ever fucking comprehend. Goddamn normie.
And somebody who's in full health, they can go, oh, I'm poorly, and the response will be along the lines of, oh no, that's really rubbish, I feel really sorry for you, can I help? But when we get poorly, it's like, yeah, but you're always poorly.
Yeah, I really struggle like to ask for help from my wife, because I feel like I'm always, something isn't right, or I'm not able to do as much as I should. So then when I really fall down and I've got like, say, pneumonia, and I need to be like, could you maybe do the vacuuming today, because walking around literally hurts my chest.
So like even your most minimal of normal capabilities
like
restricted even further.
I try really hard to just have basic, like, do the dishes, do the laundry, like real, like, base level self-care tasks. And then sometimes you get ill and then you can't do it, and then you're like, oh right, so now I'm literally helpless. Which is not a great feeling, I guess, but I think it's all about that, what we've all learned of that letting go in those times.
But it's hard because you don't want to feel like you're always moaning.
It's a hard place. I've totally lost my flow now.
Sorry.
Oh, we were talking about catheters before. That was it.
Back to that nonsense.
Back to catheters, right. So I have once had to have it in while I was awake. And so a lovely nurse will come in with like a liter of local anesthetic and stick it down your wee hole, or your urethra port. And then your entire like crotch goes completely numb. But when you've had a local anesthetic, you can still kind of feel pressure, sort of.
Okay.
And then you kind of very deliberately look at the ceiling while they feed a cable the width of a mic cable down your piss hole. And then they inflate the thing inside of you, which is another weird sensation. And then, like, for any of our listeners who haven't had a catheter in, it's almost like you're just constantly always pissing. It
Yeah,
just,
when I woke up with mine in though, it really feels like you're absolutely desperate all the time.
well,
It's not
because
like,
your
oh,
bladder's full. So you just kind of, because your bladder's full of the balloon that forces the wee out.
yeah,
So
yeah,
your bladder is actually inflated. So yeah, so it does feel like you need to wee, and you just kind of let it go, and it's
yeah,
all, and then it drains into a little tub they keep next to your bed, which is very nice of them to keep it
yeah.
just there.
Well, yeah, when
Um,
I had mine, I was like, I'm absolutely desperate. And my brother's like, you're peeing, because he was sitting by where he could see. He's like, you are peeing right now. I'm like, no.
literally, as I'm speaking these words, there's pee exiting your body.
Just staring, complete eye contact. Yes, I'm pissing.
I can't. I think I've told the story on this podcast before, but I feel the need to tell it again about the bravest man who ever
Mm,
lived.
go for it.
Who I think about this man once a week. He woke up. This is it. I was in hospital. There was an old man. I'll tell. I'll try and tell it briefly because I'm pretty sure I've told the story before. And there was an old man with dementia who had to go for surgery and woke up after surgery with a cable, the thickness of a mic cable coming out of his dick, and
Mm.
said, "No, not today. This is not that day." Any normal person would have rung the nurse, shouted, "Help! There's a cable coming out of my dick. Someone do something."
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
this man grabbed that cable and yanked out his own catheter, to the horror and disgust of all
Mm.
the nursing staff.
That is nasty.
And I thought he was dying, but I heard the, uh, uh,
Oh, oh no.
and I was in the process of dying, and I was like, just finish dying, old man, so we can stop listening to you. But
But
no, he was pulling out his own catheter. But imagine that. You
how
know
big
where
is
you
the
are?
balloon? How big is that to get dragged out?
As big as your bladder, I guess,
I mean, even
which
if
is
it
like
was
a
like a normal
grapefruit
party
size,
balloon,
maybe.
if it was the size of an uninflated normal party balloon, like, if you just put a little puff in to make it like round, would it be that size, or is that too big?
I guess that, yeah, that, I think about that. I don't know. I've never measured a bladder before.
Why not, Steve?
It's never come up in my anatomy classes.
One time when I came around after a seizure, actually, I was in those sexy hospital undies that are like mesh granny pants.
Oh yeah, those are hot.
And yeah, and I was wearing them, and they came around in the morning to change me like a baby. And as she took my knickers off, she said, "You haven't been at all." And she said, "You've been wearing these for like, I don't know, 12 hours. Well, why haven't you been?" It's like, because I'm not on the toilet. It's like, I'm not just going to piss myself. And so I was real desperate, but no, my body was like, you can't just go, oh, I've got hospital undies on.
No,
I
it's
I
like
can
the bottle. You
piss.
can't switch that shit off.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I suppose from their point, it's frustrating because they then had to help me walk and get me into a bathroom. So it's more of an issue for them.
I like, yeah, that's such a weird. I'd rather you piss yourself
Oh,
than,
Steve, what point of life have we got to where the best option is to piss yourself?
yeah, it's like a nurse is like, you would be really doing me a favor if you just weed in these mesh nappies that we have for you, you giant human baby.
I've got a toilet story that I may have told before.
Mm,
It being in hospital, and they had given me morphine, so I was obviously really constipated. But then to combat that, they gave me a heck of a load of laxatives, and wasn't happening. And then, like, it was after about 3 or 4 days that it was like,
ooh,
oh, okay, it's going to happen. It was like, 10 at night or something. It's like, this is going to happen. I have no choice. And because I couldn't yet walk properly, I had to call the nurse and go, hey, can you help me get to the bathroom? And she's like, yeah, sure. So help me up, walked me to the bathroom, which is opposite the main ward. And it's all open to the corridor, but just with a door into the disabled bathroom place. And so she walked me in and stood in the doorway. And I said, I'm good now. Thanks very much. And she said, okay. Standing there with the door open to the rest of the bathroom and the hallway and the ward. And I was like, okay, I'm good. and she still stood there. So I got onto the loo and said, thanks. Yep, you're good to go. And she said, okay, and just stood there. And so everybody could see me. And it got to the point where I wasn't in control of it anymore. Nature was going to do its thing. So I literally sat there having a after constipation, huge diarrhea experience while everybody watched.
That's nice.
That was my worst and kind of best poo.
That's amazing. There's so many like levels, from the physical to the psychological to the social. Like that is a shit for the ages.
Yeah. It's like really as low as I feel I could go.
Have you ever had a colonoscopy?
No.
So when I first got a colonoscopy, I got it in the States, and you have to clean out your intestines so they can see. So they give you what's enthusiastically called preparation. And the one that they gave me the first time must have been like 2 or 3 liters of stuff that I had to like chug and then sit on the toilet as just I emptied out.
Right.
And I have these really vivid memories of like drinking it and then like kind of puking some of it back up because my stomach was still full. It was just a horrible experience. It was nasty.
But it's like kind of like a detox.
And then I had one in the UK, and instead of 3 liters of God knows what, they gave me pure senna, like got maybe 15-20 milligrams of it. So do you know, so senna is a natural laxative. It's like
right,
as opposed to like an American pharmaceutical. You can get it in smaller doses from like health food stores, basically.
Okay.
But they just gave me this like 20 ml of pure powder, mixed it with a little bit of hot water, slugged it down, and it did exactly the same thing as 3 liters. And my God, if you have never pissed out of your ass, it is fucking weird. And I can't overstate that enough, that it is not the consistency that's supposed to come out of that hole.
Oh, that is nice.
There's a way it's supposed to feel, and then there's this other thing, and it's a whole new world.
But you must have felt very, very clean and refreshed of having been completely purged.
I was empty. There was like my whole digestive tract was flaccid. There's nothing in there.
And your digestive tract is fucked already.
Well, this is when I still had my intestines. So I was still, now I don't have to do any bowel prep because I don't have a large intestine. And I think that much dehydration would actually like kill me at this point. I'm pretty sure.
True. And then what was the colonoscopy like itself? I've never had one.
Well, I've had some where they've given you, where they've knocked you out. They're just like you don't want any part of this. And so I've had some where they just give you a little bit of something to relax, and then some where they give you like just a shitload of Rohypnol, so you don't remember it, basically. And it's bizarre because the ones that I remember, they set up a little screen, and you can see the camera going through your insides. And then
can I just, at what point do the cameras start rolling? Do they show the approach? They're like from across the room, and like when you go with feeding a baby with the aeroplane on the spoon, like, open up.
It's like the Jaws seems like da 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 da. I don't have any memories of seeing the entrance, as it were. I think my brain, if I did have those inside my head, my brain would have edited them out.
It's not a good thing to see.
But so there's a couple weird things. One is seeing your insides, and then sometimes they'll take a biopsy. So you see the camera, and then this little like RoboCop claw shoots out and goes like shing shing and grabs some of your insides and then just yanks it off. And then you feel that in a very detached way of this weird pressure. And then the other one is when it has to go around the corners in your intestine,
Mm.
They're like, right, corner's coming up, and you can see it curving, and then you feel this very thick cable inside of your body making a left turn.
That's nasty though.
Yeah, and then they'll go all the way up. I actually saw the start of my small intestine. So they go all the way around.
That's quite a distance.
So I still have to get them like twice a year because I'm still at like an increased risk of cancer or something. But
Okay.
I say to the doctor, I'm like, look, I've had this since I was 13. This has been 20 years. And as non-drug seeking a way as possible, I want to remember as little of this as I can. I would like
Yes. Yeah.
all of the drugs, please.
So you've
And
had
he's
that
like, oh,
experience. You don't need to have it again. I've had the endoscopy, so that's the one down your
oh,
throat.
I hate those.
Oh
Those are so
man,
my gross.
yeah. I thought when I went in for that, they said, some people get a bit sedated, but most people are fine. And I thought, okay, I could just be tough. And no, if I was ever going to have that done again, I would totally get drugged. Like I pretty much cried throughout the whole thing.
I
And because you've got like the mouthpiece in to keep, your mouth open,
Yeah.
you're like a blow up doll. You can't close your lips. And so I'm lying there on my side crying. But because you can't close your mouth or do anything, it's like all this spit is just falling out of your mouth, or this gunk. And again, you can feel it, all the way down. And it's like
Oh,
not painful, but kind of cold. And I thought the tube was going to be quite small. It was just a little tiny
dainty.
camera. It's like a hose pipe.
Yeah, it's like a garden hose
Yeah.
thickness.
Yeah. And like when
And
I
it's like,
saw that, I'm like, no, I wasn't prepared for that at all. So if I
mm,
have that again, and you're saying about the little thing that grabs on and rips a bit of you out, they were
yeah.
having to take kind of samples all the way down, as far as I could go. And so I could feel like a crunch, and then it would move up
Mm.
a little bit, and then a crunch. And it's like psychologically, that it's crunching bits of you, like when you bite your tongue and it crunches. And so even though it didn't hurt, it was gross and it was weird.
I remember I had a double act one time. They did both ends, hopefully with different cameras. Um, and I had some sedation, but I just was not tolerating the endoscopy, and I was just like gagging and trying to puke it, like, and then like I try and puke, but then my nose got plugged up, so then I like couldn't really breathe very well, and it was just the
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just hoping that we've put people's minds at rest.
Yeah, no, if you're about to have a procedure like that, it's totally fine. You'll be great. You'll do great, champ.
Yes, no biggie, you got this.
You'll be fine.
Advice wise though would be take the drugs.
Take the
Ask for
drugs.
the drugs, take the drugs.
If they're like, would you like sedation? Always say yes. Because it's not often in life that you get the option to be sedated.
Yeah, make the most of it. Free
Yeah.
drugs.
That's why whenever I get the morphine button, I hammer that bitch. I'm like,
Oh, for sure. Like the last time I had the magic morphine button, it was confiscated from me. Because I was legitimately in pain. I can't remember. It's probably when I broke my ankle, and they said, press this button when you need relief. And I'm like, okay. So as soon as we're at the door, I'm like, relief, please, because and for genuine reasons, because it was hurting. And then I was like, ooh, I kind of like this, but it's limited to kind of, I don't know, 5 minutes. You can give it another.
yeah. Have you sat and like just watched the timer?
Yeah. And it's like, surely it's time for another one. You press it and it's like, oh no, it's still like when you've got to flush a toilet and you're waiting for the water level to get where it's supposed to be. And then it's like, yes, now I can go again. And so I was just using it and kind of enjoying myself until the nurse came in and she asked what the pain was like. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of, it's fine really at the moment. And he said, oh, you keep it on top of the morphine? And it's like, yep. And she had a look at it and went, yes, you really are using it, aren't you? And so he confiscated the button. So I was just I wouldn't say enjoying, but I was just constantly high until I drained the machine. Which normally, like, if I'm offered pain relief, I'll do, the paracetamol, ibuprofen, and I don't ask for drugs. And like you say, because of our contact with the medical system so often, being accused of being drug seeker, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
quite an easy leap for them to make. So I try and avoid all that. But when you're in hospital and you're bored and you're sad and in pain, and then you've got this button that you can press that makes everything okay, it's hard not to.
I
Like
remember
not
like
feeling like,
when I was a kid, I did class A's. I'd go out and do like, MDMA and stuff for parties and stuff. It's like,
yeah,
why would you even want to
yeah.
like take downers? Like I want to be up and like have a good time, man. Like that's what I'm really into it for. Do you know why? Because it's fucking amazing. It makes like I can have had a pelvic dissection
Hmm.
and you press the button and it's still the pain is there, but also God loves you. You're being
Yeah,
hugged by Jesus.
yeah. Well, the best I had with that was when I broke my leg and I was lying on the rink floor because I broke it playing roller derby, and I was lying on the floor and I was in so much pain. And then paramedics turned up and said, "We'll just give you some drugs while we move you," and they gave me ketamine. And man, that was the best drug that I've ever had. It was it was awesome. It was like everything was hilarious. I was hilarious. It really was like being at a party, and then they got me to hospital, and I'm like, this is fab. And in hospital, when the pain started coming back, they gave me some more, and I think I pissed everybody off with how much of a good time I was having. And so apparently, when they give you ketamine, if they don't get the balance exactly right, some people can have quite a negative reaction to it, and I think they call it in the K-hole,
Yeah.
because you fall into this deep, dark kind of angry stress place. But if I could get that kind of happy high from ketamine all the time, I would completely be an addict.
So when I had my neck surgery, they gave me a ketamine infusion.
Oh, like herbal
Or
tea.
yeah, they steeped me in ketamine.
How many sugars do you have with your ketamine?
just one. I'm sweet enough.
I don't have any because I enjoy being bitter.
um, but what I find really interesting is there's been some research into ketamine infusions and complex regional pain syndrome.
Hmm.
So after I had my neck surgery, I didn't have any of my nerve pain in my legs for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, true.
Which was crazy bizarre because
Yeah.
because my leg pain had been basically constant at that particular period. And so I went to my kind of pain doctor and I was like, so ketamine? And she's like, no, 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 no.
See, now you are drug seeking, Steve.
Yes. This is how you get on a list.
Yeah, it's like, doctor, the only thing that helps me not be in pain is ecstasy. Sorry.
Oops.
Like, Steve.
Last story, and then we should probably wrap up. So when I did my elbow, I think when I had my elbow surgery, it was like my 4th or 5th surgery by that point. So I was like, fucking button, I'm gonna nail that bitch. and I did that. I was like watching the clock. I was like beep, 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 beep. And then at 1 a.m, I was like, my morphine button is empty. And then I was just like, what? I was like, this is all gone. I need some more. Give me some more. She's like, okay. And she went and then they re-fucking filled it. And then I was like, beep, 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 beep. And then they sent me home the next day with no morphine button. And I had managed to get myself basically hooked in that day. And I was literally shivering in the shower.
Wow,
Because
really?
it was like a hot, steamy shower. I had my arm in a garbage bag. I was like, why is it so cold?
I'm glad they confiscated the button from me then, because I would have basically carried on until a grown-up told me not to.
Yeah, no, the grown-up should have told me to stop at that point.
Yeah.
But they were just like, he'll figure it out.
It'll keep you quiet.
But yeah,
it may have been
moreish.
that time with me where I looking back on my Facebook memories and stuff, and there's one picture that pops up, and it's me that I was taking a selfie in hospital, and I've captioned it something along the lines of, this is what happens when they leave you alone with a magic button. And I look absolutely fucked. Like I've got the biggest grin on my face. My eyes are completely pupils dilated. Like my face is all massive and sweaty and shiny. And like I look like I'm at kind of the tail end of a huge festival. Like I look screwed and very happy. And I don't
know where I am, and that is fantastic.
And I've got literally no memory of taking that photo. But I was obviously having a beautiful time with the doll.
I mean, you know, people rag on pharmaceuticals, but fuck, they have a place.
Yeah. And there's enough people that enjoy them that, there's something in that.
You know, there's nothing, you know, the opioid crisis isn't a crisis because it's unenjoyable.
yeah. And humans since the beginning of time, I think I'm just making up a fact here, but humans since the beginning of time have looked for various ways to avoid reality.
Well, yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And I think the thing with especially something like IV morphine is that it makes reality comfortable in a way that it normally isn't. Because the world is a harsh, horrible place, and it's just like this big hug. And I 100% see how people who are struggling or who aren't supported properly, and that's their only, if you're living on the streets and you manage to get $20 and you can make the world okay for a couple hours, like, fuck, man.
Completely
do not blame you at all.
That's it. Like when I broke my leg and had ketamine, I remember them saying, and it's just a little snapshot that completely backs up what you're saying, is they said, how's the pain? And I said, I can still totally feel it, but I don't care. And it was that mindset that everything is still the same. Everything can still be shit for, whatever circumstance. But then you have some drug and you don't care that it's all shit. Like, like if you're in a shitty situation, then drugs help. There you go, kids. That's today's advice. If things are shit, take drugs.
Hey, that's what the doctors say. Why not? Yeah, it just makes the thing go away. But then the problem with the drugs is that then eventually your body finishes metabolizing the drugs and you're left right back where you started. And instead of doing the work on yourself or your psyche or having a shower or, like the real, like that basic human life living stuff that does really support well-being, you're like, oh no, if I take the thing, then my well-being, my concern for my well-being goes away. And that's where the hole is. If there was a way to always have the drug with none of the physical side effects,
you completely take it. And like doing all the psychological work and using your toolbox of coping mechanisms, it is hard work.
It's fucking boring.
Yeah. And it's like say, if you can spend $20 and get an instant, literal fix where you don't have to work, you just go, I feel better now. Then, that's a very easy route to take. But I think, like, say with you and I do have an addictive personality, whether that's to, an activity or getting completely, sort of tunnel vision on a project or whatever. But I think that drugs would be an easy thing to get addicted to. But it's kind of a bonus that I'm pumped full of so many shit drugs that I immediately try and avoid any other drugs. And so that's the bonus of them always drugging me, is it's kind of switched me off to taking all the fun drugs. Some people might.
So you get mixed messages from Laugh, Cry or Die today. Do drugs, don't do drugs. We don't care.
Just at least give them a try.
How do you know you won't like it if you haven't tried it?
You just need to find the right drug for you.
It's all about balance. There you go. Thank you guys for listening. That is today's episode. We will see you all next time. Okay,
Awesome.
bye.
Bye.